The cold wind blew through the streets of Asheville as Lara Johnson found the dog curled up near an alley. His fur was dirty and matted. His cloudy eyes reflected a lack of hope, and he trembled from the cold. It was clear he couldn't see anything around him. He only reacted to sounds, frightened and distrustful. Lara stopped for a moment, feeling a tightness in her chest. How many people had walked past him without noticing? Or worse, had noticed and simply ignored him. She took a deep breath and crouched down slowly, trying not to startle him even more. "Hey, buddy, are you alone?" she asked in a soft voice. The dog curled up even tighter, letting out a low growl as if warning her that he didn't want any contact. His thin, frail body revealed how long he had been without care. He shrank back, pressing himself against the cold alley wall. As if that was the only refuge he knew, Lara realized he had been abandoned a long time ago. He had probably once had a home, but something had happened. Had someone simply gotten tired of him because he was blind? Had he been left behind without even understanding why? Without making any sudden movements, she took a piece of chicken from the grocery bag she was carrying and placed it on the ground, a little distance away. The smell quickly reached the dog's nose, and he sniffed the air hesitantly. Still, he remained in the corner, unwilling to trust. "It's okay. I won't hurt you," Lara murmured, keeping her voice gentle. The dog stayed still for a long moment. His ears twitched slightly, picking up the surrounding sounds, trying to determine whether the woman was a threat. Finally, he took a small step forward and very slowly grabbed the piece of chicken. Lara could see how thin he was, his hunger evident in every protruding bone. "You need a home," she whispered. The dog still seemed wary, but something in his posture changed. He was no longer growling. Lara reached out her hand slowly. He hesitated, stepped back an inch, but then stopped. For the first time, he didn't run away, taking a deep breath. Lara carefully moved her hand closer until she touched him. Her fingers brushed against his head, and surprisingly, he didn't resist. His fur felt rough, dirty, and tangled, but she didn't care. That simple touch was a gesture of trust, a small sign that maybe he still wanted to believe there were good humans in the world. Without thinking twice, Lara knelt down and, with all the gentleness in the world, wrapped her arms around him, holding him in a soft embrace. The dog tensed for a second, his breathing quick and shallow, but then he relaxed. As if, in that moment, he had finally found a safe place. She carefully lifted him into her arms and carried him to her car. The dog didn't resist. He just settled into the passenger seat, taking a deep breath, as if he was exhausted from fighting the world for so long. On the way home, Lara glanced at the dog, now calmer, and smiled. "I'm going to call you Rocky. From now on, you'll never be alone again." Even though he couldn't see, the dog tilted his head slightly toward her voice. His body was no longer so tense. For the first time in a long while, Rocky felt like he could rest, and in that moment, he knew he was finally safe.